MAGA Republicans recently held a plethora of hearings, something that always quickly goes bad for them as the Democrats shut them down at every turn, and surprise, surprise, it happened again. So I pulled a few of the best clips from a few of the different hearings they had, so let's go ahead and look at a few different ones of these.
I'm asking about the EPA, and I'm asking about your rogue bureaucrats that have enacted these unconstitutional regulations. Are you going to repeal them? Are you going to continue to implement them, or are you going to stop altogether since it's been overturned?
Do you understand the ruling?
Do you understand the ruling of the Supreme Court?
I do, and so your question is ill-formed. No.
Will you be repealing?
We're not going to stop.
So you're going to unconstitutionally continue with these
we're going to
rulemakings.
We're going to adhere to the Supreme Court and continue to do
which
continue
rulemakings are you going to roll back?
We're going to adhere to the Supreme Court and continue to do our work in accordance to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court.
So which ones are you going to repeal?
The Supreme Court didn't tell us to repeal anything.
They have been deemed unconstitutional.
No.
The courts should not defer to agency rulemaking if a statute is ambiguous, and instead the courts get to determine whether or not what the statute means. Is that your understanding as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that would not require any regulations to be reversed or overturned.
It's pretty scary when we have people in our legislature who don't even understand the Supreme Court rulings that they're holding hearings on, yet feel the desperate need to interject their opinions and act like the expert on the matter. But I can't say I'm surprised that MAGA was so confidently and hilariously wrong. This is what happens when you elect, frankly, unintelligent people. In the case of a company or business, if we're pertaining to what the ruling actually says, if they're taking an agency to court over and opening a case over one of their regulations, if that regulation is deemed ambiguous from the court, then the court is the one who gets to interpret its meaning rather than having to default to the institution to come in and tell them what they meant. This doesn't strike down any regulations. It sure as hell doesn't make having regulations unconstitutional. It means that agencies must be more clear in their writing of the regulations, or they run the risk of a court interpreting the meaning different than they intended, or even just interpreting the meaning ambiguous anyway just to rule against them, thus losing more cases than they would have won while the Chevron doctrine was still in place. Again, why are we even electing people like Lauren Boebert? And why are they confidently speaking to experts as if they themselves are the expert?
The DOJ's persecution of Joe Biden's primary political adversary, President Donald J. Trump, is illegal and an actual assault on democracy. Raiding President Trump's home for legally declassifying documents in a transparent violation of justice. Persecuting a declared candidate for President of the United States is nothing short of election interference.
There's a few things wrong with this, namely that she's lying. So let's just go ahead and debunk the whole presidential record spin that Republicans try to put on to defend Trump. First off, Trump is literally on tape saying that he could have classified the documents as president, but didn't. So no, he never classified the documents. Secondly, he couldn't have classified them, even if he wanted to. Definitely not the way that he pretends now, where he says, I could have done it in my mind and retroactively and all the bullshit he wants to spin with it. Not only can records presidents deem personal not be utilized for transacting government business, which many of them were, but they have to be categorized personal upon their creation. They can't be done so retroactively, another one of Trump's claims he commonly makes, and the president doesn't get discretion himself to categorize a presidential record as personal. Furthermore, the president, to no extent, can declassify agency records, of which the majority of these documents were. The ones that weren't transacting government business were agency records. So he did not, nor could he have in any way classified or declassified these documents and made them personal, so he takes them out of their home. And then to comment but Hillary, that I know is coming from MAGA clowns, Hillary had 52 classified documents on a private server. The private server was on a computer that never left the White House. 8 of those were top secret, and she let some of her staff use the server. Trump had 3 different investigations ran on her, and the FBI director himself, a lifelong conservative, by the way, said that there were no charges to be brought. Trump had 325 classified, 60 top secret, left the White House with them, moved the placement that he had them in once the FBI and these agencies started asking about them, and then showed them to people. So even if you do think, regardless of 3 investigations disagreeing with you, even if you think that what Hillary did was bad, you would have to think what Trump did was really, really bad. That is the only logical, consistently following or train of thought that you can take there to say, no, Hillary bad, lock her up, but Trump good, let him go free. And then to also just debunk the Biden was too old narrative that I know is going to come next now that I disproved the Hillary one. A Trump appointee, Robert Hur, actually wrote, not what people try to spin that he wrote, that there were multiple viable defenses against the claims that Biden willfully took these documents out of office, including that Biden himself might not have even retained the documents and that they could not find any direct evidence that proved that he did so. Lack of evidence, lack of willful intent, while for Trump, both were pretty much front and center. I mean, he's literally on tape saying, I could have declassified these, but I didn't.
When we look at where this money is going from this administration, Rep. Jordan's district got $500,000. The chair's district got about $1.6 million in EPA grants. Rep. Greene's district got $500,000. Rep. Luna's district got $300,000, and Rep. Perry's district got $1 million. So for Republicans that may feel a way about EPA and it allegedly pushing a woke agenda, I just want to know, can we get the money back?
And Republicans will laud this money when it comes to their district, tricking their unknowing constituents into thinking they're the reason that the money's coming, that they fought for it hard, tooth and nail, while in reality, they fought long and hard against the money, and they are actively still fighting, trying to disband the things that actually created that money and actually brought the money to their state, to their cities, to their districts, because for them, they don't care about their constituents. Sorry to give the game away, MAGA. They don't give two you-know-whats about their constituents past tricking them for votes. What they care about is things that will line the pockets of their massive donors. So they're against things like the EPA. So these massive corporations can make more money putting people in environmental hazards around toxins, not caring about their workers, so that they then will donate more to Republicans.